And I'm sitting in for Freddie Ndimuli. We get to the conversation. It's a great honor to have you this morning. Asanteni sana kwa kuja. Wilson Sossion Veteran, educator and Unionist, seated right at the center. And of course, on his flanks is Dr. Peter Mbai, Secretary Planning and Economic Affairs of DCP Party leader, of DCP Party as well. Or is it DCP Party or Democratic?
Yeah, Democracy for the Citizens Party.
So it is DC Party.
DCP, yes.
It's DC Party. You cannot say DCP Party.
We just call it DCP for the purpose of the party.
Yes.
Just call it DCP Party.
And then we have Zakaria Baraza, political analyst, gentleman Asanteni Sana. I want to begin with Honorable Sossion, that before we get to the politics, because politics will run the affairs of the nation. But for the better part of this week, we have talked about the question of education. And what is unfortunate is that it is in limbo, and especially if you're going to talk about, these students that are transitioning, the junior secondary and all that. You look at the Standard newspaper, it has captured that as the only story on the front page extensively. And I think all these other papers, and we have carried stories revolving around that. As an educationist, and as a person who has sat at the heart of the union activities that really inform and shape the agenda of education in this nation, do you feel like at some point you have failed the nation because of this confusion that we get to see, or we have just refused to understand the system that would rather be a great system for our children?
Anybody living in Kenya will know that in 2016, 2017, I raised a very serious red flag about the reforms that were being introduced in education, ranging from constricting transition to universities with the examination reforms that were brought in, which has led to the collapse of universities. That's why you're seeing strikes in the universities.
Yeah.
And the curriculum that was hurriedly introduced without proper public participation, without extensive consultations, without professional work going into it, that was not done. And I didn't just make noise. I directed two research studies.
Right.
One on teacher preparedness. And there are a lot of gaps. And there were indications that this curriculum was foreign imposed on Kenya. It is not a homegrown curriculum, and that it was going to be very costly to implement it. Teachers were not prepared. The country simply was not ready for it.
Okay.
And the other study was on the summative evaluation of the pilot phase, which was conducted by Fred Matiang'i between June 2017 and October 2017. You can't conduct a pilot phase from the middle of the year. It is done at the start of the year for the whole year. And you have a proper summative evaluation report that is shared with the public. And when the pilot ended in October, there was no report, nothing was shared, and Matiang'i moved on to try and roll it out in the new year. And we objected it, and that was postponed for another 1 year. And then the rest is history. Everything has been amiss. Everything was amiss during the tail end of Uhuru's regime. But when William Ruto was preparing for presidency, those of us who believed in reforming education and reviewing the curriculum, because the only thing you can do is to review, but not to throw it away, was to, we advised the president to develop a pragmatic framework that would guide the review of the curriculum in line with the UNESCO, which indeed was done, domiciling of grades 7, 8, and 9 in our current primary schools, and it becomes the unit of education closer to the household, and which removes the cost. That is a big milestone. To me, that was a big decision. Reviewing the content and the scope of learning and even the subjects.
Right.
For example, grade 9, they were supposed to take 14 learning areas, but they were reduced all the way to 9.
Right.
And reviewing other aspects of this curriculum, including making mathematics mandatory at the senior secondary. To me, a lot of remedial measures have been put in place. And
Okay.
the president also agreeing to hire additional 116,000 teachers, which already is at 100,000. To me, the government has done a lot to review. It could have been terribly worse than what we are seeing.
And therefore,
But I think the most exciting level of CBC, which I didn't have any issue right from the beginning, was the pathways. But for the pathways, teachers need to be adequately trained for arts and sports and technical areas, that is the technical subjects, so that then almost all the schools in the country, but not schools selecting the pathway. I think it's a wrong thing. To me, I don't support a situation where schools select the pathway and some schools are unable to provide certain pathways. The philosophy should be all senior secondary schools should be able to provide the 3 pathways. That means STEM must be compulsory in all schools, must be available in all schools, and then sports and arts and humanities. To me, I think we hurried into rollout without preparing to train teachers and without investing in the quality infrastructure to support the pathways. So the big challenge that we have in senior secondary, without a doubt that the country must know, is that the infrastructure aspect has not been adequately addressed. And that now is a mandate of the boards of management of the schools. And I believe they should be prepared, and it should be work in progress. And this is something that should have been done right from earlier on. And we have seen some schools trying to simulate their systems about the new pathways. And to me, I think a lot has been done to review and let us allow the selection of senior secondary schools by students, admission of students to senior secondary schools. And without wasting time, the schools should use not later than first term to ensure that the requisite infrastructure of good quality is available in all schools to deliver the pathways that they've selected. And then number 2, they should also ensure that there is teaching of all the learning areas that are available within the schools.
And therefore we're saying...
We can't postpone these things beyond first term. And so first term, 2026, the leadership at GOGO and the entire education sector should roll up their sleeves and devolve their activities to the schools and assist the schools to ensure that work is going on, particularly...
Allow me to loop in the other gentleman, because we have a scholar as well.